Hi there. I'm Dr. Bosh P. Jordan Jr., the pastor and founder of Hope Alive Outreach, and welcome to the Hope Doctor Speaks. That's right. And Happy New Year to everyone. Today we have a tremendous broadcast for you. We have some persons from Philadelphia, from Baltimore, from St. Petersburg, Florida. And before we do anything, I'd just like to say that I'd like to have a moment of silence for our country that is in disarray right now with what's happening in Washington, D.C. And so just have a moment of silence for the United States of America. Amen. Well, today we continue in our monthly broadcast on the Hope Doctor Speaks, where we have a mission to give hope to persons who suffer from the disease of addiction, primarily drugs and alcohol. And if you have any concerns, maybe you have a relative or a neighbor, a loved one who suffers from the disease of addiction, and you want to get some help, you can give me a call at 443-250-9635. That's 443-250-9635. Or maybe you might want me to come and speak at an event or do a book signing for my new book, The Pipe and the Pulpit, which you can get if you go to my website, which is www.hopealiveoutreach.org. And we're running a special this month for only $8.95, and you can get it. And maybe you might want to just give it to a friend of yours, or maybe someone who's real close to you that you know suffers from the disease of addiction. Maybe somebody like you, or maybe your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, your grandchild. The book talks about the experiences that I've had, but also we give some principles, some spiritual principles that will help you to help someone else. And also, we're going to give a telephone number or one or two numbers for individual family members who are living with an addict, you're living with an alcoholic, and you need to get some help yourself. And we're going to give those numbers out shortly. Today we have as our guest, first guest that we have today is Lois. Hi, Lois. How you doing?
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad that you were able to fly in from Baltimore.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And we also have our co-host, Nicole. How you doing, Nicole?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Nicole.
Doing great.
Hi.
Doing great. Now, Nicole, she's got some experience as far as AA is concerned. And Nicole, how many years sober do you have now?
11.
11. And tell our listening audience today where you are, and just wish them happy New Year if you like.
Sure. I'm in St. Pete, Florida. I'm hailing from downtown, which I'm sure you can see behind me.
Yes.
I'm in my office space today.
Is that the bay? Is that the bay back there?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can see it past those buildings, but yeah, that's what's back there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lois, Lois is a member of. Well, tell me you're a member of what fellowship and how much clean time do you have?
Narcotics Anonymous, and I have 28 years.
28 years.
Yes. And I'm in Ocean City today, even though I'm from Baltimore.
Really?
And I don't have the backdrop, Nicole. You would not be able to see it. It's pitch black out there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But both of you are near the water.
Yes.
Yes. And we also have a guest today, Barbara. Barbara is with us. And unfortunately, Barbara had some difficulties getting on. But Barbara, tell us where you are and who you represent. Well, not who you represent, but the fellowship that you're a part of.
Of course, the dogs will take this time of art.
Okay.
I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I have 29 years today.
Really? Barbara, you're 20. You mean that means you're at least 29 years old, Barbara?
No, I just started drinking early.
Oh, you started drinking early. Is that what it was? Okay. All right. Well, we're so glad to have all of you are with us today. We have another gentleman from Philadelphia who's supposed to be with us, Jihad, and hopefully he'll be coming in shortly. Today, we're going to be talking about a message to the newcomer, a message to the newcomer. And I was looking at the Just for Today. The Just for Today is a meditation that we utilize for individuals who are in recovery. And this is January the 6th. It says, how does it work? I used to think that I had all the answers, but today I am glad that I don't. What are the two favorite words of most addicts? Anybody know what that is?
I know.
I know. That's right. I know. Unfortunately, many of us arrive here thinking we have all the answers. We have a lot of knowledge about what's wrong with us, but in and of itself, knowledge never helped us stay clean for any length of time. Members who have achieved long-term sobriety or recovery will be the first to admit that the longer we are here, the more we have to learn. But we do know one thing: by following this simple 12-step program, that we have been able to stay clean and sober. We no longer ask why, we ask how. And just for today, I don't have all the answers, but I know where to find the ones that matter. Today, I would ask another alcoholic or ask another addict, how does it work? So today, to open up our discussion on for the newcomer, first of all, let's talk about what is a newcomer. Anyone can jump in there if you like. What do you consider to be a newcomer?
A newcomer is a person who is new to the program. Basically, it has no real experience with recovery. And sometimes the newcomer can be someone who has a lot of time, a new experience. So basically, that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Lois. Barbara, what do you think? What do you consider to be a newcomer, Barbara? You've been around for a while.
I think I will agree. A newcomer, I came into the program in 1978, and I decided I knew it all, and didn't drink or anything, but quit doing everything I was supposed to do. So I went back out after 10 years, and then I drank for 4. And when I came back, I was really a newcomer. Even though I knew about the program, I was a newcomer. So I think I agree that newcomer can be someone maybe who hasn't been out even and needs to get back into working the program.
Barbara, tell them, what do you mean by I went back out? You mean you went outside? What happened?
Oh, no, I went out drinking.
You started drinking again.
I became a fall down drunk.
In some places, we call that relapse or falling off of what? Falling off the wagon.
Well, let's just put it this way. I became a fall down drunk. Simple as that.
Okay. Again. That's okay. Nicole, what's your definition of a newcomer?
Yeah, it's definitely the person, that's just coming in for the first time. That doesn't really have any knowledge, someone that wants to find a new way of life and get sober. I agree too, though, it can be that person who relapses and comes back. And I really like what Lois was talking about, someone kind of wanting to gain a new experience in sobriety, because I think we can, when you stay sober for a little while every now and then, we do need to kind of reinvigorate our program and come to it with a fresh perspective and a new and open mind again.
Yes. And the thought comes to my mind when Barbara talked about, going back out. Somewhere I read in the recovery literature, it says relapse or falling off the wagon, it may be the jarring experience that's necessary to take the program seriously. What do you think about that, Barbara?
I'd say that's exactly correct. It was a very jarring experience. And when I came back in, when I went back to my AA meeting, I went back and made the decision. I went to a 6:30 a.m. meeting, and one that I had been attending, had attended before in the past. And I sat down, and when I introduced myself, I said, "I'm Barbara, and I'm back." And I just started sobbing. And there were people that I knew in there from before. And I looked around, and I had no hope at all. I had no other place to go but to AA. But I looked up on the wall, and there was a poster. It was a six-figure man sitting on a rock with his suitcase at his feet. And it says underneath it, "If you feel far away from God, guess who moved?" And I held on to that.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Well, talking about the newcomer, giving them a message. If you were to go back in your recovery or sobriety history, your life as a recovering addict or alcoholic, what would you say was the best message that was given to you that maybe can help someone who's listening to this broadcast today? And you still believe that message or abide by that message today?
I remember the first time I heard someone say, "You never have to use again." That was really profound. As simple as the statement is, it's the truth, and it still holds true today. And I heard someone say it, and I looked at them, and it connected. I understood that that's exactly all I had to do was follow directions, and I would get better in the process. And that's what I've done. know I never have to use again. I have choices. You know, we say we can refund. I'll refund your misery. You can get that refunded, but no, I don't want to.
Yes. Yeah. And using the word never have to use again can be profound. Never having to use again. Um, Nicole, can you remember the message that you had or someone gave to you when you were new that still resonates with you today?
Yeah, there were kind of two. And the first one I actually hated when I first came in. And that was this kind of like 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute at a time adage. I couldn't stand that when I came in because I'm a planner. I don't like to be here. I like to be in the future or ruminating on the past. And the longer I stay sober, though, the more and more I really go back to that, especially when times are hard or things are going on that I can't control. The best thing I can do is really just stay right in this moment, right in this day, and figure out what needs to be done today. Because I can future trip pretty bad and get in a bad headspace, and that's not where I need to be.
So if a newcomer asks you, well, how does that relate to me?
Yeah, I do this a lot with my sponsees because she's a lot like me, and I just tell her, where are your feet right now? And she'll say something like, at work or at home in my kitchen. Okay. And what do you need to be doing right now? Well, I need to be sending this email to my coworker or cooking dinner for my kids or whatever. And my thing is the moment that you're in is the only one that you really have. And so that's the one we focus on. And that's how we build a life, one step at a time.
I love that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Barbara, can you remember when you were a newcomer again, something that really resonated with you that you will always remember and you think might be helpful to a newcomer who's listening today?
Well, don't drink and come to meetings, and that made good sense to me. I could consider that. But the one that really helped me was that I could start my day over any time, and the Serenity Prayer. So I would frequently, have to have an attitude adjustment, and I would excuse myself and go get on my knees and say the Serenity Prayer and start my day over again. And that I still do that today. And that might help somebody.
Yeah, we can start our day over anytime we want. So
I never knew that.
really, right now we're in what is known as a pandemic, and Lois, when when you came around, when you came around, and Nicole, when you came around, things were not as they are today. So for a newcomer, someone who's fresh in this program, I would say that they have some advantages or maybe some disadvantages. We're on Zoom. We're on using social media. There are very few meetings where we can have physical contact. How has your recovery changed as a direct result of this pandemic? And how could you share some hope to the newcomer?
I can start for you. I am in the high risk category thanks to a heart condition. So I haven't been to an in-person meeting in almost a year now. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's been difficult and weird. But it hasn't been impossible. And I think that is kind of the key. Like, recovery taught me that it's okay if I'm not feeling freaking fantastic every day. I can still do what I need to do to maintain a healthy sobriety, and to be like relatively happy from one day to the next. And so what's changed is my meetings are like this, all online right now. And I'm picking up the phone more than ever because I can't see people face to face. And I'm calling a lot more and I'm texting a lot more, and it takes conscious effort for me to connect with people over the phone and through Zoom now, but it's completely possible and doable. And the other thing too is, like, this is not going to last forever. No, we don't know when it's going to end or change, but guaranteed it's not going to last forever. And I just kind of keep that in mind and really lean on that one day at a time.
Great. How would you respond to that, Lois?
Yeah, that was really good. That was perfect, actually. As far as my recovery, the majority of my network is in my home group. So I get to see them 3 times a week. When we decided to incorporate the Zoom platform, it became real instrumental for all of us. So we make sure we get on early and we stay on after the meeting so that we can laugh with each other and discuss, how we're doing. How is this, like the temperature, take a temperature check. And so it's been pretty instrumental for me. In the beginning, I went on a lot of meetings, and then I kind of pulled back from a lot of meetings because, like I said, our home group meets 3 times a week. So if I need to go on other meetings to get speakers, then I'll do that. But other than that, but I always, my heart goes out to the newcomer. Thank God I'm not a newcomer. Thank God I'm not just coming in the program. I cannot imagine how difficult that might be, And I hear a lot of people talk about it, on other meetings. The first day, I've had 15 years, I'm back out. I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking sometimes. But like Nicole shared, that hope, that's it. That's basically what I can share, is that hope,
Yes.
Dr. Hope Doctor.
Okay. Yeah. And Barbara, how I see you on a regular basis, Barb, in one of our AA meetings. How
Right.
how has the pandemic changed, but at the same time allowed you to still stay sober?
I agree. Thank God I'm not trying to get sober right now. I don't think I could do it. I don't know how the newcomer coming in. I know we had a girl come to our meeting a couple times trying to get sober. I just think it must be horrible to try to do that, because I depended on people so much when I first got sober. I mean, every day, constantly, I was around AA people. But I think I would probably, first thing I would do is make sure the newcomer knew how to do Zoom and explain how you can go to different meetings and try to get a home group. But I am so grateful for my recovery, because I have handled the pandemic in a relatively mature manner. I say relatively, but because of the program, I know that this too shall pass, and all I have to do is the next right thing. And if I don't feel like doing anything today, I'm not going to do anything today. I don't have to feel guilty about it. I let go of the shoulds and ought tos, and as a result, I'm allowing myself to get through this pandemic, and I can't wait till it's over. I cannot wait. But I do feel my heart goes out to any newcomer coming in right now.
We have a newcomer who's listening, Dina, and Dina made a comment. She said she's just starting on the road to recovery. She's just starting, and Dina, if you want to ask a question of something that might possibly we can answer, just put it in the comment section, and we'll come right back to you, because right now you're the most important person in this meeting, and we say that at all of our meetings, and I couldn't understand in the beginning how the newcomer could be the most important person in the room when I was in there. I thought I was the most important person. But did anybody else think that too?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. But somebody explain why that is so true. The newcomer is the most important person in this meeting right now, and in any 12-step meeting. This is for you, Dina. Go ahead, jump on in there, Nicole. Did you mute yourself? You muted yourself.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
First and foremost, we are taught in recovery that our job is to carry the message. And when a newcomer is in the room, that is a prime opportunity for us to do that. And it is our goal, once we get sober, to share that experience, strength, and hope. And so that newcomer is the person we can do that for. And also, the newcomer reminds us of where we came from, which is incredibly important, because we've all been through that pain, and we need that reminder. And we need to speak to that person and let them know that, we've been there too.
That's right. I like what you said there, Nicole, because sometimes, we can catch amnesia and forget about how it was to be new. It's like the literature said today, just for the day, when I first came around, I thought I knew everything. But I had a sponsor. He asked me a question. He says, Basha, if you know everything, how come you're here? And I said, oh, my goodness. It's almost like being in the penitentiary, locked up, and you're talking about how much you know, and somebody says, hey, really? Well, how much more time you got to do it is? I've got 40 more years, well, gee, Barbara, what do you think about that? Being the most important person in the room is the newcomer.
Well, I know that I definitely was the most important person. Even if you had been there, I was still the most important person. And it took me a while to understand. But I love the newcomer, because it gives me a chance as it was mentioned, remembering where I came from, it gives me a chance to maybe help someone else and maybe help with the gifts that I was so generously given years ago and still am receiving. And like we have a forgetter, and like my sponsor used to always say, he said, well, your best thinking got you here, didn't it? I said, mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying, but either keep on keeping on. It works.
Yes. Another one of our listeners, Kim. Kim has asked a question. She says, what was your breaking point? When did you realize that you had to surrender? You remember that, Lois?
Yeah, I remember. I was a professional. Well, I'm retired now, but I was a dressed up addict, walking around looking like, $1,000, but dying inside. And this little boy called me out of my name, and that was it for me. I know that may sound real simplistic for sometimes, but for me to
boy,
wear that mask for all those years.
How old was he? How old was he, Lois?
He probably was about 20. He may have been about 20.
Oh, I thought you were somebody about 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, no. No, he may have been about 20, and that was one of those nevers that I said I would never cop drugs from these young boys on the corner, and that was it for me. That was the pinnacle of that was it. When I had to go out there and get it myself, that was it. I said, I can't do this. I was humiliated. And
what did he say?
Even
I'm crying. What did he say?
He called me a bitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. He said, I said, wait a minute, bitch. And I'm standing there like I had never had anyone call me out of my name.
Really?
Never. Because
you were in Baltimore, weren't you?
Yeah.
That explains it.
And that kept going over and over in my head. And even though I didn't stop right away,
right,
that feeling never went away. And
disrespect.
So, yeah, that level of disrespect, because I was supposed to be hiding it. Nobody was supposed to see me like that. And so for him to say that, it was like he saw me. Something that I didn't even want to take a look at. So that was it. That was what brought me to my knees.
Well, yeah. one of the things that, since I'm from Baltimore, one of the things that exists in Baltimore and has been existing for a long time, and that is you can be riding down the street and see a line of addicts. And whenever you saw a line of addicts, you knew it was either the soup line or the dope line. And it could have been on a main thoroughfare or in an alley. Now I'm going to ask you a potent question, Lois. Were you in a line?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I was standing. I was by a pharmacy, a really famous pharmacy down there on Gwynns Falls Parkway.
Really?
And Gwynns Falls and Liberty Heights.
Okay.
And we were standing over by the store, and it was quite a few people standing over there. No one was in line. And I was, and I was telling him what I wanted, and he told me to wait. And I was like, what did you say? And then I said, wait. And then I was like, what? And then after that, I don't know what transpired. Whatever it was that I said to him, actually, I was short. Let me be honest.
You was.
Yeah, I was short. I was short $1.
Enough $1. Oh, you were.
Yeah, I was short $1. I had change. Basha, those boys didn't take change. I had 4 quarters. And so that's what I know. And he was like, I don't take it. But he did take it eventually.
But even though just to show you about our addiction, and it may seem funny now, but it wasn't funny then.
No.
Okay, even though you were embarrassed, ashamed, never been called that name in your life,
I stood there and waited.
Did you? You stood there and
I
waited.
stood there and I waited.
You waited. Isn't that something?
Yes.
Barbara's over here laughing. She's in Florida.
She really is.
See, but alcohol. But Barbara was a drinker, so she didn't have to go out on the corner. One of the things that's so devastating about alcohol is that you can go inside and stand in the line inside, and nobody's going to call you out of your name. They're not going to think that it's anything wrong with that. But it is. But it is when you're an alcoholic. Could you expound on that a little bit, Barbara?
Yeah. When I hit my bottom, I actually had nothing. I had not paid income tax for 4 years. So I was getting letters about liens on the property. The phone was constantly ringing for the creditors. I was unemployed and unemployable. But that was just the way it was until and I had nobody. I was living by myself and I had 2 dogs. And I was walking them at night one night, and I couldn't walk them. I kept falling into the bushes. So I came back into the condo and I said, I've got to get rid of the dogs. And then it hit me. If I got rid of the dogs are the only things I have. I had nothing else for the dogs. I couldn't let anything out for the dogs. That's why I came into AA.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
That's something. That is something.
Can you remember being a newcomer, Nicole, and the most embarrassing thing that you went through? Anything that was embarrassing to you?
I'm sure there's plenty of embarrassing stuff, but when the question was posed, what kind of came to mind for me was the things that I did that I said I never would. One of which was driving drunk with my son in the car, and picking people up and driving drunk when I was more sober than they were was my excuse, and I ended up flipping my truck into a ditch with 3 people in my car. But it was my son. It was driving drunk with him in the car and then making plans to give him up to his father because I knew that I couldn't be what he needed. That was kind of what did me in, because I was repeating a cycle because my parents did the same with me.
Wow.
Yeah. So embarrassing though. I did all kinds of stuff. I remember I got sober and, I would remember some one night stand that I had completely forgot about, or just those cringy things that you don't want to think about, and they just pop up in sobriety and you're like, oh God, it was really like that. So stuff like that. It was too much. It was too much.
Yeah, I know. I said I never did those things. That's what I said. I told myself. And then as time went on, I thought about how I would go to someone's house and they would say, the guy likes you, Lois.
Oh.
We could we could get some more. Just go in, just go talk to him.
Yeah.
And that was just crazy, And I didn't think about that until I got here, got clean, and started really taking a look at myself,
Yes. And I think that the newcomer needs to know that though we're talking about some of our misfortunes and some of the things that happened to us that we may not have liked, it was for our good.
Yeah.
I can. Sometimes I hate to tell this story, but it's the truth. I can remember, being a pastor. Barbara, don't you laugh here. And so when I would go to get my drugs, I would go to the drug dealer's home, and I would go in and let him know what I wanted. And sometimes we'd sit there and get high, smoke some cocaine, and drink some Hennessy and smoke some reefer. And when he was a well-known dealer, but he wasn't on the corner. And so if somebody rang the doorbell while I was there, I would normally go in the bathroom and wait until they left because I didn't want people to see my face. But this particular day, when the doorbell rang and he got up to go to the door, he left a pile of cocaine on the table and he says, Bosh, you know, do whatever you want. And I said, oh my goodness, this is like heaven. What is this? I'm not going to go to the bathroom. And so I proceeded to get high. And these two people came up the steps, a young man and a young woman came up the steps. They sat at the table. We sat there, but I noticed in my peripheral vision, this guy kept looking at me. And so after about 10 minutes, he snapped his finger and he said, now I know where I know you from. You're the pastor of St. James Church down on Monroe and Lexington. And then he said, how do you do that? And I took some cocaine and sniffed it with one nostril, the other one went over nostril. I said, that's how I do it. How do you do it? But my high just went out the window. I could have gone through the floor, and inside of 5 minutes I had to leave. But I'm like Lois. He called you out of your name, but you didn't get out of line. He recognized my face, but I didn't stop. But the thing that really got me to stop was my wife, to be honest. My wife is the one who pulled the rug from underneath me by telling the bishop that I was using and did an intervention in my life on Friday morning, October the 13th, 1988, at 9 o'clock. It was a knock at my door, and I got up and opened the door, and there was my mother. My mother was standing there with my sister, and I said, well, what are you all doing here this time in the morning? And I went to let them in. Behind them came my mother-in-law, and behind her came my best friend, and then my boss from the church, and then I was going to this Episcopal priest, this white Episcopal priest, for my wife. I was going there because my wife wanted me to go, but I was lying to him about using. And when I saw his white face, I knew something was up, Barbara. I said, oh my goodness, what is this? And that was the day that I was confronted with my drug addiction and my alcoholism. And I went to treatment that day. Very embarrassing, but it was what I needed. Kim is asking the question, has anyone made amends with the ones you have hurt? When do you make amends? That's the ninth step.
Yeah,
that's the ninth step. And even though we're talking to the newcomer today, since this question was asked, I'd like for someone to answer that, please. Nicole, you want to jump in there?
Well, absolutely. I definitely have made amends as a part of the process of going through the steps with a sponsor. I think it's super important to kind of mention too that our steps are in order for a reason, and that one is the ninth because there's some stuff to go through before we get there. So mainly so that we don't cause more harm to the people that we love. But 8 and 9 were absolutely kind of the turning point for me. For a lot of people, it's steps 4 and 5. For me, it was 8 and 9. And so, yeah, absolutely, it's something to look forward to. But getting through 1 through 8 is an integral part of the process.
Yes. Anyone else want to address that? Making amends. Have you made any amends? When do you make amends?
Yeah, I like what Nicole said. She definitely made it real clear that this is not a process you go into by yourself. That's the whole point of having a sponsor, because you need someone to guide you And it's not something that you, like she said, don't, you don't want to do that, because you could possibly hurt someone more, or even really get physically hurt. Someone could physically hurt you because of some of the harm that you caused. I, I I found that to be the most freeing part of the process of making amends. It has freed me from the wreckage of my past. For the most part, there's always more that comes with getting clean and staying around, and then you find out other things that you've done that hurt people. So yeah, it is a process. Like she said, the steps are in order for a reason. And I don't have to rush out and do anything. I can take my time. It's one day at a time. It's one step at a time.
Barbara, the making amends. The question has been asked: has anyone made amends, and when do you make amends?
Yes, I have made amends, and I agree with what's been said. I definitely recommend, before making any amends, that you really discuss it thoroughly with the sponsor. Because when I first got sober, I wanted to go make amends to everybody, and I was sorry for everything. I was sorry for living. I don't know. I was sorry for everything. And my sponsor said, no, 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 no. And I think that's probably the most important thing to help me to determine when to make amends and how to do it.
Yes, and Barbara, I like you gave me a lead in here. We can learn through our mistakes in recovery. When I came out of treatment, I wanted to make amends to everybody, and so what I did was I called a meeting of the church. I got out of, I made amends I got out of treatment on a Friday, called a church meeting 3 days later, and nobody knew why I was calling this meeting, but all of the members of the church, because I had been away for 28 days and nobody knew where I was. So everybody showed up. Everybody and their brother showed up at the meeting. And when I got out of treatment that Friday, a gentleman who was in the treatment center, one of my counselors there, suggested that I have a sponsor, and so he got his sponsor to be my sponsor the day I got out. And so when I met with this gentleman, I didn't really know the importance of listening to your sponsor. And I told him what I was going to do, and he said, "Basha, I wouldn't do that if I were you." I said, I got to tell the whole church where I've been and what I've been doing, because I was their pastor from 1983 to 88. So that's 5 years. They had faith and confidence in me, and they didn't know what I was doing. And I called that meeting. The steps are given in order.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have not done the preceding steps, don't jump up there and do a step where you have not laid the foundation. I can share with you that was one of the most devastating things that happened to me. So here I am, 3 days out of treatment, speaking in front of 100 people, telling them that I've been using drugs and alcohol for the last 30 years of my life, and I've been in the treatment, and I'm an addict and an alcoholic. Oh my goodness, I dropped a bomb in there, and the people started crying. But then the choir started singing, praises to God and everything. And after the meeting was over, one little old lady came up to me, short lady, and she put her head on my chest. She said, "Reverend, I love you, but I wish you hadn't told me."
Mm.
And then 2 or 3 days later, one of the members of the church came to me, knocked on the office door, and told me about a person in the community who came up to her and told her, "Yeah, I heard your pastor's a dope fiend." And she said, to him, Reverend, I told her, we already know that. He already told us. So the steps are to be done in order. And that first step, I think is the most important step to the newcomer. And one of the things I want to say, the message to the newcomer, I think the best thing that happened to me was that I had a sponsor. When the sooner we get a sponsor, the better off we are. Because I relate recovery the same way I do using drugs or alcohol. Somebody taught me how to drink. Somebody taught me how to smoke cocaine. Somebody taught me how to shoot dope. So I would not advise anybody trying to shoot dope in your veins and you had nobody to really show you how to do it. And I would advise you not to get into a 12-step program and have yourself as a sponsor. So I hope that my experience, but one of the things that did for me, I stayed pastoring to that church for another 3 years. I stood up where I fell down. But after, I thank God I had a sponsor that I could cry on his shoulder after some of the people in the church crucified me, because for the next 8 or 9 months, it was hell trying to continue to pastor. People walking out when I'm preaching, talking back to me while I'm preaching, not wanting to shake my hand. So to the newcomer, I think the best thing that I ever did was got a sponsor. What do you all think?
Absolutely. You say it. If you don't have a sponsor, then you have a fool for a sponsor.
That's
because
right.
You're trying to sponsor yourself. The same person that got me here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm supposed to know.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
I was smart, but I was never able to stop using. Just because I was educated didn't mean that I knew the answer.
That's right.
So to come into a 12-step program and not want to recover, to do the steps with a sponsor, is ludicrous to me.
Yes. I want to ask my co-host, Nicole, whether or not there's anything that you think that we need to cover for the newcomer tonight.
Right now, I think it's because we're in this weird situation with this pandemic. I think it's always important right now to kind of drive home that recovery is still possible right now, even though this looks really, really strange. And that one day it won't look strange and we'll be back to some semblance of normal. But also that we don't have to do this alone. I think right now it can really feel like that's the only option because we are alone in a lot of ways. But the group, we're sitting here talking and we have similar experiences because we got involved with a group and really allowed ourselves to be led for a little bit, which is willingness. And I think that's the thing that we haven't covered that might be worth saying is all we have to do is allow ourselves to be led for a little bit so that we can get this thing figured out.
Great. Well, I'm Dr. Jordan, and we are bringing a message of hope this evening to persons who suffer from the disease of addiction, primarily drugs and alcohol. That's my mission in life, and that's what I've been doing now for the past 30 years. I still have a broadcast in Baltimore on the #1 station, gospel station in the nation. It's Hope. It's Heaven 600. It's on iHeart Radio. You can go and get the iHeart Radio, the iHeart app on your phone, and we're on every Saturday morning from 7:30 until 8 o'clock. And like I said, we've been on since we've been on for 30 years. 30 years next month. And so if you'd like for me to come and to speak to your organization, your congregation, your recovery center, wherever it is, give me a call at 443-250-9635. 443-250-9635. Please, if you want to pick up something easy read, but very informative, my book entitled The Pipe and the Pulpit talks about my experiences, not only in using, but also in recovery. And I have some spiritual principles in there, which can help any individual if a person is using or if you are a family member. All right. You can go to my website, Hope Alive Outreach. That's www.hopealiveoutreach.org. And you can get that book there. One of the things that I mentioned early on, and that is for family members, you need some help yourself. It's not always the person who's using, the person who's drinking. If you've got an alcoholic or an addict in your house, you can become just as crazy as they are. And don't think that you can't. You can want to kill somebody. As a matter of fact, you might try to do that. Suffocate somebody. Get tired of that. And so they have some programs. One program is called Al-Anon, 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 Alanon, and you can go online. You can look it up. But if you're in Florida, the telephone number is 727-548-6811. That's 727-548-6811. If you want to get in contact with Narcotics Anonymous, where you can find out where meetings are, the telephone number is 1-800-317-3222. That's 1-800-317-3222. And if you want to get in contact with AA, you can go online for Alcoholics Anonymous. Just put in AA or Alcoholics Anonymous, and they'll show you how you can get some help. One final thing, I want to ask all of our participants for tonight. I'm so glad they're here. I want to give you a minute, if you can, if you will, just to give somebody out there some hope. Let me start off with Barbara.
Yes, I want it just gets better. Life just gets better. We keep doing the next right thing, and it gets better no matter what. That's all.
Okay. Lois, just give somebody out there some hope.
Don't give up. No matter how many times you try, just keep trying. Do not give up. You're not hopeless. You're not helpless. You have us. And all you have to do is just keep trying. And that's it for me.
My co-host, Nicole, you want to give somebody out there some hope?
Yeah, I think I want to kind of continue on with that one day at a time theme that keeps coming up for me today, which maybe means something I need to focus on, but you don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to know what life looks like after today. All you have to do is give yourself a shot right now in this moment, and anything is possible.
Yes. I want to thank my guests today. Thank you to Barbara for coming in, even though Barbara wasn't able to get on where we could see her. The most important thing is that she's here and she's giving us a message. Thank you so much, Barbara. And
My pleasure. Thank you.
Right, and somehow or another, the spirit must have been working because your dogs stopped hollering, in the background. They came in the beginning, but they're quiet. And thank you, Lois, for being here. Lois, you're a powerful example to our home group there in Baltimore, Blast of Recovery. And Nicole, thank you so much for being here with us today. Our guest from Philly sent me a comment. He said that he had some trouble getting on today, but he was listening to the broadcast, and maybe we'll try to get him on the next broadcast because I know he has a lot to say. Well, I'm Dr. Jordan. They call me the Hope Doctor. And remember, no matter what's going on with you today, there is hope for you. I'm the Hope Doctor. Have a great day. Bye-bye.